Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina. Welcome to the Sunday night live stream show. Apologies for starting a little bit behind schedule tonight, but it is going to be worth it. We are ready for the Sunday night live stream show. We're going to be talking fishing, answering questions, talking weather, answering your questions, giving away free stuff. That's right, we've got $1,500 in free stuff to give away tonight. Plus, we're going to talk all about what's going on now, what's coming up, and more. So hopefully you guys are ready for a great show. Hopefully you guys are ready for a good time. We do this every Sunday night right here on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, all that good stuff. We also stream live to other Facebook pages like the Real Animals Facebook page, the Captain Dylan Hubbard Facebook page, and a bunch of other places as well. So you can catch the show in many different locations. But if you want a chance to win free stuff, we're going to be giving away a 5-hour half day for 2, a 10-hour all day for 2, a Hubbard's Marina swag pack, and a 39-hour fishing trip for 1 lucky winner. So $1,500 in free stuff to give away every Sunday night right here at 7:30 p.m. In order to have a chance to win, you do have to comment at least one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. You do have to watch the whole show live. And if you're picked as one of the lucky winners, your name will pop up on the screen. You got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address to the phone number on the screen. So you got to watch the whole show live. You got to comment on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. Then if you're picked as one of the lucky winners, you got 5 minutes or less to text the phone number on the screen. That's how you enter. That's how you claim. That's how it works. All right, guys. Also, want to make sure we give a shout out to our friends over there at Gator Jim's Tackle, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive, South in St. Pete. If you haven't stopped by and seen our friends at Gator Jim's Tackle, make sure you do so. Make sure you tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you, and you get a free trip for a young angler in your life if you bring them with you. So stop on by Gator Jim's with the young angler, tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you, and the young angler gets a free gift. Or you get the free gift of seeing all the great deals, killer selection, all the awesome stuff they got going on there in Gator Jim's Tackle. So stop on by and say hello. Also want to make sure we give a shout out to all of our supporters out there in our supporters group. If you're not a part of the supporters group, you're missing out. There's been a lot of pranks going on this week in the supporters club. There was a secret video showed in the supporters club today of Captain James falling down. It was pretty funny. And there's some other good stuff going on in the supporters club. So if you have not joined the supporters club, you're missing out on the weekly after shows. Every Sunday night after our main show, we do a little supporters after show. We also give a lot of one-on-one information, a little bit more behind the scenes look, some cool stuff in the supporters club, and it's only $4.99 a month. So check it out. Josh is going to drop that link in the chat for y'all. So definitely think about joining that supporters group, and big shout out to all the supporters who are watching tonight. Also, want to make sure we give a shout out to those who are sending stars. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching over on Trovo, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, stars are a way for those who are watching on Facebook to show their support and help fuel the show. So if you're watching on Facebook and you send in stars, we appreciate you. We appreciate everybody for watching, but we really appreciate the stars, of course. We had John Bull, Gary Camage. We had Lance Hall with a big 1,200 stars. Jeff Reedy with a big 1,200. Shannon Alexander, Sam Lang with a big 500. Robert Riggs, and then we had Noah Smith with 750, and then Shanna and Scott as well. Appreciate you guys as well for all the support. Oh, I missed a few. LaShonda with a big 500. Adam Franklin, John Bull, Don Shuett. Appreciate all you guys as well. So we've talked about our supporters group. We talked about the stars. We talked about the Gator Jim's Tackle. Now it's time to get into the photos. We always start off the show by showing you what we're catching now. Then we get into the weather a little bit. Then we get into some announcements. Then we get into your questions. If you have a question that you want answered live during the show, you do have to text it into the phone number on the screen. The YouTube comments are going by too fast. Facebook comments really fast. We don't get to see the Trovo Twitch comments, so you got to text us your questions to the phone number on the screen if you want them answered live during the show. All right, with that, let's move on into the photos and show you guys what we're catching now. Inshore, we always start inshore, then we work our way near shore and off. Right now, near shore, we're seeing some nice redfish action. Dead bait working best. Cut mullet, cut ladyfish, cut pinfish, cut threadfin, all good options for the redfish up on the mangrove shorelines. Higher tides, they get stuck up in there, and they definitely are biting well for us. Seeing some nice solid redfish action early morning for sure is a good time to go because overnight, early morning, dusk, when the water temperature is down a little bit, it's going to be a better time to try to get some of that action going on for sure. Out on the beaches, we're seeing some good action on that incoming tide, little cooler water. Still plenty of sheep's head around. The snook, these fun size, kind of schooly size snook, are still really active in the upper and back bay areas, especially first light around the early morning. Bigger snook are out in the deeper passes right now, out on the beautiful beaches as well. We're seeing a lot of them around the bridge lights, dock lights at night. You can see out on the beaches cooperating well. We're seeing a lot of big snook out there. Trout on the edges, the potholes, trying to find any reprieve from the warmer waters. Bridge lights, dock lights, good areas to look. Again, early morning, early in the day, good opportunities there as well. So hopefully you'll get a chance to get out there and do some, oh, that was the wrong button. I'll learn. It's early in the show. So that was our inshore photos. Now we're going to pop on over to nearshore and offshore and show you guys what we're catching a little bit deeper. Then we're going to get into some weather. We do have some weather, some interesting weather to talk about tonight. So don't go anywhere. First things first, let's pop on over, show you nearshore and offshore, what we're catching out there a little deeper. Mangrove snapper bite has been stellar lately. Really seeing a lot of nice mangroves. Hogfish are few and far between, but they're still coming. We're still getting those hogfish. The mahi-mahi have shown up. 10-hour trips are seeing some mahi-mahi. We see them occasionally even on the 5-hour half days, and we're seeing a handful off deeper too, but really the 10-hour trip has had the best luck on the mahi-mahi as of late. We found a spot, found an area loaded down with some big 60, 70, 80-pound amberjack. We're going to hold that spot over for September. So hopefully you guys are ready for the nice action on jack. September and October amberjack season will be open, September and October, so we're looking forward to that. Look at the size of this blackfin tuna. This was a horse of a blackfin tuna. They don't get much bigger than that. I think that's about as big as they get. It was an absolutely beast of a unit of a blackfin tuna. Crazy. Biggest one I've seen, for sure. Nice cobia. Some solid gag grouper have been caught and released. Seeing some nice ones there. Look at that 10-hour all-day mahi. That is a pretty nice chicken dolphin. We had a big school of some pretty large mahi-mahi swim by the boat. We're seeing them on a bunch of different trips. You never know. So chicken dolphin, bigger dolphin, some solid mangroves. Mutton snapper have been prolific. A recent 39-hour trip had 8 keeper muttons. We had a 12-hour extreme trip where we had 4 keeper muttons. So we're really seeing some good mutton snapper action, some solid red snapper action. Definitely a good time to get out there and do some catches. Now, keep in mind, these were all different piles of fish. That wasn't the same pile of fish. That was 5 different catches there. So really doing well out on the 39-hour long-range adventures. Some solid red grouper caught and released. Big red snapper going in the box. Seeing some really nice red snapper action across the area. So hopefully you'll get a chance to come out and join us. We got red snapper open until August, end of day, August 27th. So we still got plenty of time to go catch those red snapper for sure. And we're seeing some of these pelagic, these sailfish. We're seeing some cobia. We're seeing plenty of mahi-mahi, big scamp. Look at the massive yellowtail action. We've been seeing some nice yellowtail snapper too. So good chance to get out there and catch a variety of different species because the fishing is hot like the weather is hot. So it's a good time to get out there and do some catching. Jill Petrillo, appreciate those 500 stars. James McCullum, appreciate those 500 stars. George Arterburn with the big 500. Don Schuett with the big 800. What's up, Gare Bear as well. Thanks, buddy. All right, so we showed you guys what we're catching inshore. We showed you what we're catching near shore and offshore. Now it's time to work our way over to the weather. Talk a little bit about what's going on weather-wise. Weather-wise, we're going to pop on over to the Hubbard's Marina website page. We're going to click fishing trips. We're going to scroll down to the weather links page. We're going to start right in the offshore 39-hour area because it is gorgeous as far as the eye can see. There's really nothing to talk about weather-wise for the next week. The next 7 days look beautiful. Less than 10-mile-an-hour winds. Less than 1 foot seas, really even offshore, 100 miles from shore. It is gorgeous. 1 foot or less, 10 mile an hour or less, beautiful weather. But after the 7-day period, we start to get some wind. And this is what we're going to be keeping an eye on. Sunday, really late next weekend, early next weekend. So basically like 7-8 days from now. This is going to be the time period we need to keep our eyes peeled. We're going to go back to the Hubbard's Marina website. Right on the top of the Hubbard's Marina website, we got this ultimate storm forecast, spaghettimodels.com. Our friend over there, Mike Boylan at Mike's Weather page, has this great website that we use a lot this time of year, and I'll show you what we are watching. First things first, let's change the regions up, make sure we're looking at our home port area. So this is the GFS model. This is the American model, as they say. And we got a little bit of a wave coming our way. And the GFS model has it kind of dying down a little bit. You can see it still, remnants right there. Definitely, let's see if we can get a little bit closer here. Map. Western Atlantic. There we go. A little bit more zoomed in so you can kind of see it better. So the wave kind of comes up and skirts around Cuba, and you can see that blue spot. This is the wave that I'm talking about. This is Friday. This is Saturday. And then into Sunday, Monday, kind of hanging out Tuesday. So that is what we're looking at for the American model. The Euro model is a little different, and it skirts on the other side of Florida. So there's definitely not model conciseness. This is the Euro model, and this is around next weekend, Saturday, Sunday, into Monday. It has that same tropical wave getting a little stronger, a little bit more organized, and going up the east coast of Florida. Now, it's early. Again, we're a week away, so this can change a lot. I've seen some models show it hit South Texas. I've seen some going to Houston, some going to Louisiana, so it's bouncing around a lot. Long story short, nothing to panic yet, but it is something to keep our eye on for sure. What's up, Mike? How are you, buddy?
I'm good, my friend. How are you guys?
Doing well, man. We're just looking at this possible weather for early next work week coming up. And keeping our eyes on things for sure, man. How are you?
Yeah, we're good, man. Just busy prepping for tomorrow's charter, and we got a pretty full week of charters, so we're looking forward to getting on the water and getting a little closer to that new moon. So hopefully these tides will improve and the bite will improve, and maybe some things will go our way out there.
Yeah. It's definitely been a little bit stagnant, a little bit stale. Today, it looked like we were on St. John's River in Johns Pass. It was crazy how much that rain has really kind of made things a little bit darker and tannic. We got a big outflow of fresh water getting things kind of stirred up. Does that help at all? I mean, it's got to lower the water temperature and get those fish a little bit more frisky, right?
Yeah, I mean, really, that was our best bite last week.
Okay.
Was some of the back bays that got punished with some of those, 2-hour, 2.5, 3-hour torrential downpours late in the evening last week. That, even though the water didn't look great in there because it gets real tannic, normally that makes you a little bit nervous. But when your water temp goes from, 89.9 or 90 to 87, 0.3, that you know right away that if there's fish in there, they're going to be much happier.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we found, and that's where our best bite was.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not sure, I'm not sure how that'll, rock and roll through the week here. But again, we were fighting some goofy tides and, just looking for any little advantage. And that's, dog days of summer, that's the key. You're just trying to find an advantage somewhere. Bait schools are real popular. We talked a little bit about that today with Rick Gross on the phone during the radio show. And, work those bait schools if you can find, even the fry bait schools, work the edges of them. There's bound to be game fish there.
That's what we're seeing a lot in the pass. A lot of snook are hanging on those edges.
For sure. We had a really good trout bite on Friday. Maybe one of the better I've seen in July, especially in the last 2 years. But we were in almost 8 foot of water.
Wow.
So really deep grass, but big. I mean, we caught some big, healthy, on the plus side of 20 inches, maybe close to 22 inches. And we caught several of them in that area. And there were some smaller ones mixed in, but there were some really good ones in there. Little couple of brutes that we caught. And I it's a great sign because that trout fishery's been off a little bit. But
isn't that flat really sharky too?
This particular flat, not as much.
Oh, I got you.
As the other one. That flat I fished this week as well. That's kind of out in the middle of the bay.
Yeah.
And it was covered in silver trout. Lots of silver trout.
Seems odd.
My grandfather used to call them sugar trout. It's actually not for that spot. It's pretty common on that particular spot. We caught a few speckled trout mixed in too. There wasn't as many mackerel on it as I normally like to see.
I thought silver trout was more cooler months.
I'm with you. I agree with you. But for whatever reason, this particular grass flat, it's kind of in the middle of the bay, surrounded by about 15 foot of water all the way around it. It's got 4, 5, 6 pretty decent grass patches on it, still in 7 to 8 foot of water, depending on the tide. And even this time of year, you can catch pretty good numbers of silver trout on it, although they're not very big. A lot of small, 10, 11, 12-inch fish. So, fun, bend a rod, catch some fish. Just kind of something we do, when I go to that spot, I'm looking for action. Normally there's jacks there. Normally there's ladyfish there. Normally there's mackerel there this time of year. I haven't hit the mackerel there yet, but I'm sure, they're probably coming. A lot of the bait moved up the bay, especially the bigger baits. So, it's just one of them spots. Should be any, as we get into August, is normally when we see a lot of the small sharks there, a lot of the, 2.5 footers, the juvenile
sharks.
Yeah, they're pretty popular with the kiddos and just, fun to catch in general because they scream drag and keep things interesting. So, but that's just what we're doing. And we had a decent little snook bite. Caught a few redfish. Again, it was kind of a tough week, but I'm just hoping that as we're leaning into this new moon here, still a little ways off, but leaning into it, hopefully that'll help us each and every day as we get into this thing. So bait was a wild card too.
Wow.
It was on a couple of markers. It was pretty solid, and then come Friday morning, it just disappeared. So, which I thought was kind of weird because you don't normally lose bait on those markers, mid-moon phase.
Yeah. We've been finding it really high up in the bay. For our 39 and 44-hour trips, our bait guy is going catching as big a thread fins as he can find. And he's going pretty far up into the bay, like Gandy, and all the way up.
Well, and this time of year, you'll get a lot of that. That bait pushes up into the bay, which is good to see because I don't think it made such a great push last year, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And I remember a lot of the complaints. Yeah, I remember a lot of complaints that the bite wasn't great up, Weeden Island North. So, that's, when I heard the bait, a couple of guys, Jim Pollard, a couple of guys went up there running around, looking around, trying to see if they could find a little better bite than we were dealing with to the south. And they said there was just bait schools everywhere.
Wow.
So, I think that's a good thing. I think it kind of normalizes thing, and I think a lot of those fish will follow that bait. So I know a lot of our redfish will put their nose into that fresh water and go towards the north end of the bay. You know, September, really, really good month for the north end of the bay, even all the way north to the Courtney Campbell. So
Really?
It'll be.
Seems like that area would become a bathtub, a hot tub.
Redfish put their nose into fresh water and they go to it.
Even
so when
if
we
it's
get all those big
degrees.
rains up there, they still go up there to it. It's all the nutrients, all the, remember, we were talking about the tarpon bite and the crab flush.
Yeah.
And the crab flush needing, water, rain to help that crab flush, and why that all correlates, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that when we get big schools of redfish show up in September, those rains, they will put their nose into that fresh water and go to the north end of the bay. I don't know why. They've just always done it. And we don't lose all of them, but big schools will push through and they don't sit too long. The south end of the bay, they'll move towards the north end of the bay. So, which is good. Spread them out a little bit. Make you have to work, to catch them. Keep everybody on their toes.
There you go. Any tarpon action left?
Well, I'll tell you what. We fished snapper. I had a snapper bite at the Skyway Bridge, or what I was hoping would be a snapper bite. It wasn't a great bite. There was a lot of snapper there, but they were, I think, gorging themselves on the fry bait that was there, and we couldn't get a lot of bites. I think we caught 4 or 5. But there was tarpon rolling everywhere.
That's awesome.
I even tried. I had one guy that was like, "Hey, dude, I'd rather try and catch one of those." So I'm like, "Hey," and it looked like there was some, 30-pounders, So I'm like, "Hey, there's a bigger rod. Go nuts." Well, we tried pinfish and we tried bigger whitebait.
They're just
couldn't get one. Just couldn't get one to hit there. Just gorging on. Now I've done that before in the big schools of fry bait that usually gets between Egmont and the Skyway.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen tarpon in there, and I've taken a big pinfish and pitched it in there and hooked up immediately. So there's times when it will work. You just got to luck out, hit one on the nose with it, because there's so much food, they don't really have to chase anything. I think it's more you just get lucky and tap one on the nose with a big cheeseburger and they eat it. But we sat on them for probably, I don't know, an hour, hour and a half, just trying to I was trying to let the tide get moving good. The tide was kind of turning. It was kind of slacked up. So we were at the bridge just trying to get something going on that slack tide with all the knack for the mangoes. So, but we never had any luck. But I saw a pile of poons there, a pile of them. So
that's cool.
I think there's probably still and I will tell you this. You made an interesting point, and there's a lot of guys who do it, and they're really, really good at it. The Gandy Bridge at night this time of year, really, really, really good.
I was on YouTube this morning, and I was watching our live videos because we have a camera on top of the garage and a camera on our dock. So I was checking out our live streams this morning, making sure everything was up and running because they've been running much better now, much smoother. But I was watching them, and on the side it always recommends different YouTube videos, and that's not great because you just can go down a rabbit hole. But long story short, one of the local YouTubers got a Tier 1 operator. I don't know who it was. They didn't say, but some guy took all his NVGs and put them on this little bay boat, and they were riding around the bay with night vision goggles and infrared lasers, and they were pointing out tarpon and casting on them at night. It was pretty wild. So I feel like we got a whole new application for our night vision scopes. We just got to disconnect them from our rifles and go tarpon fishing with them.
I'm gonna have to check in with my friends at McDill and see if we can get our score some Tier 1 operators to come out and play a little.
Yeah, man. Let's do that.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I'll drive. Yeah. I just want a free pair of NVGs, and you guys can fish for tarpon. It'll be fun.
That would be fun, actually. If you could see it. That's the only reason I don't like tarpon fishing at night.
Yeah.
If they get away from the boat, or out of the bridge lights, and you miss the whole show.
Yeah, you can't see them.
So, yeah, you don't see the jump, which is, in my opinion, my favorite part of tarpon fishing. So, but hey, MVG
now we've got a solution for that.
I love it. I love it. As the evolution of fishing continues.
Yes, they have no shot, no chance.
How was your bride's birthday?
It was good. It was good. My wife's birthday was this weekend, and we had some special daddy kid time. My daughter, my son, and I went fishing, and my wife got the day off with her friends. They went did a bunch of different things. So we're celebrating as a family later this week. But
Okay.
I took the kids and spent the whole day together. So it was fun riding around, hitting the parks, doing some fishing. My kids are pretty into fishing for like 5 minutes or so, and then they'll see something shiny, and then they'll come back, and then they're hot and heavy. My daughter was funny. She was like, one more fish, Dada. And we'd catch one more, and she'd walk away, and then she'd come back, one more fish. So it was pretty funny. Yeah, she was into it.
Yeah,
But the mangroves were biting
better
better this time. We didn't get catfished quite as hard, so that was good.
That's good. Good.
Yeah.
There you go. Good
So
move.
the mangrove
Good move.
snapper bite
Take
is
care, Mom.
good in the pass.
Well, there's a lot of mangoes. I mean, we had them chummed up all over.
Oh, yeah.
On Monday, the bite wasn't great. We had a pile of them, and they just, again, there's so much fry bait. We were on the backside of that full moon. That moon was still pretty bright, so I'm looking forward to that thing sinking a little and getting a little darker for us, so we can
concentrate on that day bite.
Yeah, exactly. Help us out a little bit. Do us a favor. Help us out.
All right, brother. We appreciate it, Mike. Thanks for calling.
Oh, good. You guys have a great night.
I
appreciate the time, brother.
Tuesday.
Oh,
Tuesday.
yeah, you're right.
You got something going on, man.
Yeah, you're right. We do, and I'm glad you mentioned that because it's going to be a good one. Eric Bachnick from Mirror joins me at Bartow Ford, and it should be spectacular.
Don't miss out, for sure.
No, that's going to be a good one. 6 to 8 p.m. Tuesday night, Bartow Ford. I know Mr. Mahoney's going to be there. There's a rumor Captain Big Ben Marshall will be there as well.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty big to do. And if you've never
the whole
heard
B team in one room.
Oh, wow. Yes, the B team will be there. If you've never heard Eric do this seminar, it's really, really, really good. I mean, there's so much information about mirror lures there and how to fish them and how to,
That's awesome.
Use them and throw them and the development of the lures and all that. It's pretty special.
Yeah, definitely don't miss out. Plus, there's free food from Silver Ring Cafe. There's a Bull Bay rod giveaway. There's Ingle Cooler giveaways. You got some real animal swag as well. So don't miss out. Tuesday night, Bartow Ford, 6 to 8 p.m. Captain Mike and Eric Bachnick from Mirror Lure. It's going to be a good one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate you, my brother.
Appreciate you, Mike. Thanks for calling, buddy.
All right, brother. Have a good night. Thank you.
See you, man.
See you.
Always a pleasure hearing from our friend Captain Mike. Hopefully, you guys enjoy our our inshore, updates. But let's get back to the weather here real quick. Want to talk a little bit about this again because one thing, can you bring up the Hubbard's Marina website page, Josh? There we go. Nice. All right, so right on Windfinder, again, this is showing the weather around the 4th, 5th, or 6th of August. So, again, I mentioned this. We're going to keep an eye on it. I'll keep you up to date in our daily videos. We'll probably get a little bit more consistent with our daily videos, showing you guys what's going on. But it is early, super early, so nothing really to be concerned about yet. But it's worth keeping an eye on. And if it does go to the East Coast, it's not really going to be much to be concerned with. It's got a 40% chance over the next 7 days. So still pretty low chance. Even if it gets to 100%, it could veer and it could get stronger. The real question is, where does it go in a day or two? Is it north of these islands? I don't know. Can we zoom in a little bit, Josh? Yeah, we can. Look at that. So if it's north of these islands are Hispaniola, all these big atolls. It a lot of times will kind of break storms down, and if it stays over that land, it can kind of stay a little bit less formed. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but basically you had two different models. The American model had it kind of coming up over here to the east coast or west coast of Florida, and the west coast of Florida basically was showing less formation because what happens is it hits those islands and it's going to break down a little bit. So I'll show you that again here real quickly and illustrate what I'm talking about. See these islands down here? If it stays more south and stays over those islands, then a lot of times, here's Monday, Wednesday. All right, so you can see the little blue blob. The American model has it staying a little bit further south, staying over those islands a little bit more, and it doesn't get a chance to form as well and to organize as well, because it's staying over this land, staying over those islands, and it just never gets its act together, and it just kind of fizzles out a little bit in the Gulf. Tries to come together a little bit before it makes landfall. There it goes. Now the GFS is showing a little something making landfall in like Destin area. But if you look at the Euro model, this model has that wave staying higher. Let's zoom out of here. So this model has that wave staying higher and not interacting with that land as much. And so because it's not interacting with those islands as much, it gets its act together a little bit better and stays a little bit more organized. And what happens when a storm stays more organized? It generally pulls towards the poles. So if it stays north of the islands, gets organized sooner, gets a little stronger sooner, it will pull north to the poles. If it takes a while and makes it over those islands and kind of stays a little disorganized, then it's going to continue going west. Storms generally pull west when they're less organized. They pull more north when they're more organized. So that is the question. How is it going to interact with those islands over the next 2 to 7 days, and where is it going to go from there? If it gets its act together, it won't really be a big deal. If it waits to get its act together, that's when Florida has to worry. That's honestly why we get so blessed, I guess you could say, in our area, because we're kind of protected by Cuba and those islands, the way storms kind of come together. But we'll see. Time will tell. So something to keep our eye on, nothing to be concerned about yet. Not worth canceling trips or rescheduling trips, but definitely something to keep our eye on. So with that, I think we have covered the weather in depth. Again, weather is gorgeous for the next 7 days. Then we're going to be watching what happens with that storm. Stephen Moreland, appreciate those stars, my friend. Barry Long, appreciate those 500 stars. It's time for our first free giveaway of the night. Then we're going to get into your questions. Remember, if you have a question, text the phone number on the screen so we can answer your question live during the show. First giveaway of the night is going to be our Hubbard's Marina swag pack. Let's give away the swag pack first tonight. Switch things up. Swag pack winner is Nelson Ross. Congratulations, my friend. You got 5 minutes or less to claim that swag pack by texting us your full home address and your t-shirt size. That's how you claim that Hubbard's Marina swag pack. Remember, in order to win, you do have to watch the show live, the whole show live. You do have to comment at least one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. That it makes you eligible to win. And then if you are picked as one of the lucky winners, you got 5 minutes or less to text the phone number on the screen. That's how this works. All right. Now, we've talked about what we're seeing now. We've shown you the photos. We talked about the weather. We got our inshore report from Captain Mike. Now it's time for your questions. Remember, if you have a question you want to answer live during the show, you got to text it to the phone number on the screen. Now, first question. Drum roll, please, as they load. While we're waiting for it to load, don't forget we got lots of light loads coming up. We got Red Snapper open June 1st through end of day August 27th. So Red Snapper's in full swing. We've got Triggerfish opening up August 1st. Triggerfish will open up August 1st and should hopefully be open all the way through the end of the year. We've got Amberjack September and October. We've got Red Grouper potentially end of August at the Gulf Council meeting in Biloxi, Mississippi. We might hear that we're going to get a little extra Red Grouper time. May or may not. If not, we will see Red Grouper reopen January 1st. Gag Grouper will be open September 1st through end of day on September 15th. So those are the seasons we're looking forward to and looking to take advantage of. Definitely excited for August, though. The month of August is looking a lot lighter bookings-wise. We have a ton of 12-hour extreme trips with plenty of room. We've got 39-hour trips with 12 16, 18 people. So we got some super light 39-hour trips. We've got some really, really good opportunities to get out there on the water and not only catch a bunch of red snapper, mangrove snapper, yellowtail snapper, almacos, porgies, vermilions, mahi, all the pelagics we've been seeing, but also the big triggerfish are coming back. So super pumped about that. Lots of great opportunities come August for sure. All right, first question. Can I bring my phone on the fishing trip? Yes, you can. It will not work. You cannot text, call, or do anything on your phone, but you're welcome to bring it with you now. Let's see. How can I change my billing? So anything membership-wise, billing-wise for Facebook or the supporters group, we don't control. A lot of people will call me and ask me about, oh, my credit card number changed, or I have to update my credit card number. We are not anything to do with Facebook. So Facebook stars, Facebook supporters group, anything through Facebook, you actually handle that in Facebook Pay. Or if you did it on your phone, you would update your credit card in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. So just keep that in mind. That is how it is done. What other questions do we have? What is the best brand of fluorocarbon leader? Me personally, I really like the Yozuri fluorocarbon leader we sell in the shop. But we also have Trickfish Yozuri, or Trickfish fluorocarbon, which is pretty good too. I mean, it's kind of up to you, but the Yozuri I find is pretty good quality. I like that one. But everybody has their own favorite. Fluorocarbon is fluorocarbon, and some Salt Strong testing has been done, and they even kind of seem to find that some of the monofilament is holding up just like fluorocarbon. So keep that in mind. Let's see, what other questions do we have here? If the knife are... Someone's asking about the Relentless knives being self-sharpening. They're pretty cool. They definitely work really well. Let's see. I was asking what kind of things you've been mainly catching recently. Any big kings? So we already went through what we're catching when we showed photos earlier in the trip, earlier in the show. We're definitely catching offshore, some pelagics, but mostly mahi-mahi. We're catching a handful of cobia here and there. We're seeing quite a few sailfish, surprisingly. Haven't seen any wahoo, but we do occasionally see them, and then some big blackfin tuna recently. Going out in the 39-hour in September, what is your got-to-have bait for gags? Big live bait. If I was going out in a 39-hour in September, I would call the office and I would book a 5-hour half day prior to the 39-hour trip. And I'd go out in that 5-hour half day the morning that I was going out on my 39-hour trip, and I'd catch a bunch of those gray snapper, porgies, spot tails, squirrelfish, lizardfish, and I'd throw those in my live well, and I'd bring those offshore with me for the gags. So the 5-hour half day prior to the 39-hour is the best option to get really big live bait. Some big select, like 8 to 10 inch live baits, even 12-inch live baits, and something with a big reel. Like I fish a 9-aught reel with an upgraded drag, a 100-pound main line, 125-pound leader, big 10, 12-aught hook, 10-ounce egg sinker, and a 12-inch live bait. And eat your Wheaties. hit a good workout or 10,000 before the trip too. How's the hogfish bite? The hogfish bite's been tough, man. Hogfish bite best in cooler months. We catch them best around like October-ish through March, April-ish. Definitely this time of year we do still catch hogfish. We're seeing a handful, like 1 or 2, 3 on a half day. We're catching 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on a 10-hour, but very, very few and far between on the hogfish side of things. We don't really target them as heavy this time of year just because we're not seeing as many. Definitely cooler months is the time for those hogfish. Hi, you guys always caught some strawberries, or is that happening with some muttons? Not understanding the question, but we do catch strawberry grouper year-round, and they have been pretty common. Strawberry groupers are kind of a common term we use for rock hind, red hind, spotted hinds, and Graysbees. Like 4 or 5 species of grouper or hinds, which is the grouper family, all get lumped together and called strawberry grouper. And strawberry grouper, pretty common. It's something we've always caught, but we definitely see a lot of them right now in the summer. But the mutton snapper are definitely a little different. Yellowtail snapper, mutton snapper, yellow eye snapper, schoolmaster, dog snapper are all species of snapper that we generally, like when I was a kid, didn't see much of, if any. We're seeing more lane snapper, a ton more lane snapper. Like 15 years ago when I was working on the charter boats, we might catch 5 lane snapper on a 10-hour trip, and that would be like a lot. Now we catch 150 lane snapper on a 10-hour trip on average. So the lane snapper have exploded, and they've spatially expanded, meaning their area that they normally are or normally live have expanded geographically. So we see a spatial and geographic expansion of the lane snapper population, and their average size is getting much, much larger as well. So we're seeing lane snapper explode. We're also seeing it with yellowtail snapper. When I was a kid, again, we didn't see much yellowtail snapper. You had to run really far southwest, and you might catch a few yellowtail. Now we're catching yellowtail very commonly. Like when I got my captain's license at 21, I would run some pretty far southwest trips in some of our Go Fast boats, the Flying Hub 1, if you remember that, and we would crush the yellowtails pretty good. And that's when it kind of started, about like maybe 10, 12 years ago. Down southwest we'd start to see them. Then they started creeping. You could get them to the west. Now you can go even northwest of our area and catch yellowtail snapper. So yellowtail snapper have expanded quite a bit. Yellow eye snapper, we're catching a handful of those, and they're pretty cool. Blackfin snapper we don't really see too many of. They're pretty deep water, and they're still pretty far southwest. Schoolmaster and dog snapper are 2 that are pretty rare for us still, but we're seeing more of them for sure. Definitely a lot of spatial expansion as those species push further north along the Florida peninsular coast. Next question. Do you think the Daiwa BG 3000 is too light for the mangrove snapper fishing on the 39-hour? Personally, I would never, ever, ever use a spinning reel on the bottom bait fishing on any trip other than a 5 or 10-hour trip, because you might catch a big mangrove. A mangrove snapper, a big mangrove snapper, 9, 10, 12 pounds, is a dog, and he can fight, and you really need some power and some torque. And a spinning reel is a really high gear ratio. The higher the gear ratio, the lower the power. The lower the gear ratio, the higher the power. So a conventional reel is generally going to be a lower gear ratio, giving you more power. Plus, a conventional reel, just based on the physics of how you hold the rod and the reel, is going to give you more leverage, and you're going to be able to fight that fish much better. A conventional reel, remember, the butt goes underneath your right arm, your right hand on the reel, your left hand out in front of it. So you're actually using your whole body as a lever to fight the fish. Then with a spinning rod and reel, your right hand is holding that rod and reel, and you're only reeling with your left hand. So you're basically using one bicep to fight that fish. It just is not an economical way to bottom fish. It's not efficient. It does not work well. And if you're getting dogged with a spinning reel, the reel is on the bottom. You can't put that rod on the rail and use the rail as a lever in emergency situations, or you can't hike your leg up and use your leg as a lever. With a conventional rod and reel, your conventional reel is on top of the rod. So if you're getting totally dogged, taken to school, you can hike your leg up and use your leg as a lever and try to put more pressure on that fish, and generally have more efficiency and better physics to help you fight the fish more. So would I drop a spinning rod and reel down, even a big spinning, even a 10,000 spinning rod and reel down? No, just because of the physics behind it, it does not work. However, there are times where the bite gets slow, not much is going on. Then we're lightening up leaders like this time of year, summertime. Daytime, like 10, 11 o'clock, sun starts to get high in the air. There's no wind. It's like a lake out there. The bite kind of dies. And when a bite dies down, there's nothing much going on. A lighter tackle definitely helps. So there are times where you might see me drop a spinning rod and reel, but it would be on a super light load. I'd do it up on the bow, and I would do it strategically, you know. Even a Sargosa 10,000, yeah, it doesn't matter. Some of those spinning reels have like 80 pounds of drag. That's cute. It doesn't matter. I'm a big guy. I work out a lot, and I can't hold more than like 40 pounds, 50 pounds of drag in one arm. When you have a conventional rod and reel, you use your whole body. I can hold 80, 90, 100 pounds of drag. I could put the rod on the rail if I need to. And then I'm using 270 pounds as a lever on that rod, you know? So with a conventional rod and reel, drag actually matters. These spinning rod and reels, the only reason they have super high drags is to trick you as an angler in Bass Pro Shops or your local tackle shops. It tricks you into buying the reel. And it's really meant for like tuna fishing up on the surface or tarpon fishing up on the surface where that fish is running away from you, and you put that reel or that rod butt into your hip and you fight that fish that's going straight away from the boat on the surface. It's not meant for bottom fishing, because when you're bottom fishing, you're using one bicep. It doesn't matter how strong you are. You will not be able to lift up more than 30, 40 pounds of drag. Trust me. We did it the most eye-opening thing for me as an angler was we did this kayak fishing trip back in the day, and we tried to qualify people to make sure they weren't total novices. We made them get in a kayak in a pool at Tackle Shack, and we put a 5-pound weight on the bottom, and we hooked their hook to it, and we tried to make them fight this 5-pound weight in the pool. No one could pick up a 5-pound weight from the bottom of the pool. No one. From a kayak. Even standing on the side of the pool, it was very difficult to get that 5-pound weight up off the bottom because the rod bends, the line stretches. It's very difficult to pull 5 pounds of drag out of your reel. I challenge you, if you're sitting there thinking, well, if I've got a Sargosa 10,000 or a Stratic whatever, even if you have a 20,000, it doesn't matter. It's not going to be strong enough. You're not going to be strong enough to lift that much weight with one arm on using a spinning rod and reel. The way you fish on the bottom, it just doesn't work with a spinning reel. It's got to be a conventional reel. That gives you so much more leverage. A $900 spinning reel will not be as good fighting a fish on a 39-hour trip as a $90 Walmart special conventional reel. It will be the $90 Walmart special conventional reel will be better than a $1,000 spinning reel because of the physics. You can't beat physics, guys. Science wins every time. Let's do another giveaway. We did the swag pack. Let's do a 10-hour all-day trip. 10-hour all-day trip for 2 people. 1 lucky winner, 2 people. 10-hour all-day trip goes to Michael McCready from Jacksonville, Florida. Congratulations, Michael. You got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address to the phone number on the screen. Now, speaking of all these spinning reels, I do have a Daiwa Saltiga 4000. It's got like 55 pounds of drag. And I've dropped it down. There was a 39-hour trip charter. We had like 17 people on the boat. I went up to the bow with like a half-ounce egg sinker and a huge, huge thread fin in red snapper season, casted way up off the bow and let that thing sink back really slowly down the whole side of the boat. By the time I got to the stern, I smacked like a 22-pound red snapper, and this thing took me to school. I did a lap all the way around the boat and finally got it up to the surface. If it wasn't a private charter with a bunch of friends who were willing to get out of my way, if it was a public trip, there was no way I would have landed that fish. I would have been tangled. It would have gotten broke off. The only reason I was able to pull that off is because there was a private charter. There wasn't many people on the boat. We all worked together and we landed that fish. So that is a great example of a really high dollar, $900 spinning reel. Someone who knows what they're doing. I picture myself a little strong, and I still couldn't land that fish without making a huge mess. So it just doesn't work, to answer the question. What is the best trip for me and my dad? Early July, late June. Well, that's now. I would say a 12-hour extreme. There's a lot of light loads right now. It depends on how old your dad is. If your dad's in his 70s, it might be a little tricky to do an extreme trip because they are pretty extreme. No air-conditioned cabin, buzz out there really, really fast. You're kind of open into the elements. It's hot. It's tough. It's a tough trip. It is an extreme trip. If it is a little bit more difficult, maybe look at the 39-hour trip. You have the air-conditioned cabin you can hide out in. We're coming up on a time of year right now where we have super light loads on the 39-hour trip. So we have 39-hour trips with, like I said, 16, 17, 18, 20 people. So there's still air-conditioned bunks available. So you can get a bunk in the air-conditioned cabin. And you got triggerfish opening up in August too. So maybe do one of those or start slow. I always tell people to start slow. If you've never been offshore fishing before, if you don't do party boat fishing, I would maybe start with a 5-hour half day, get your feet wet, make sure you know how to use the rod and reel, make sure you're not getting seasick, make sure you like fishing with us, and then maybe do a 10-hour trip, get the hang of it, fish a little deeper, get the hang of how to do things, learn a little bit more. Then step up, maybe do a 12-hour night trip, then maybe do a 12-hour extreme trip, then do a 39-hour trip. That's a good idea, kind of a gradual progression. If you jump right to one of the long-range trips, there's always a big learning curve on your first trip. And if you jump right to the long-range trip, that learning curve becomes a wall. It makes it really difficult to have a positive experience your first go-round. But if you go into it knowing there's going to be a big learning curve and you're willing to learn, then it is what it is. But if you want to lower that learning curve and make your first one a little bit more of a positive experience, start slow. Get into it slowly. Do a 5-hour or 2, do a 10-hour or 3, then do a 12-hour night, maybe a 12-hour extreme or 2, then do a 39-hour. That's my recommendation. What kind of equipment do you rent for the 39-hour trip? We rent a similar rod and reel on our 5 and 10-hour trips, just a little bit bigger of a conventional reel. So it kind of switches back and forth, but right now we have a 4/0 Seafire reel, 60-pound test, and then we have different size leaders and hooks you can switch to throughout the trip. Let's see here. Looking for recommendations on electric fishing reels. I don't have any really because we don't recommend electric fishing reels. We don't really use them. We fish anywhere from about 120 to 250 foot of water, so we don't recommend electric reels. You don't need them. But we have done deep water trips. We used to do some deep drop trips. I have a Daiwa Tanacom. But they have a bunch of really cool options out there on the market now, so you never know. Definitely works well. There's a bunch of them. Especially Daiwa has come out with a bunch of new ones. Let's see. Yeah, we don't tell you where to fish, that's for sure. Don't plan to either, sorry. Do you catch tuna on your fishing trips? Yeah, we do catch blackfin tuna quite a bit. We catch blackfin tuna on our long-range trips for the most part. We've caught them on the 10-hour trip, but it's pretty rare. Most of the time it's 12-hour extreme, 39, 44-hour, especially this time of year. Water's warm. We catch them mostly deeper where those cooler water currents are. Cooler months, October through like February, we sometimes see them come shallow. We'll catch them as shallow as 80, 90 foot of water. If we're doing a deep 10-hour trip, we'll see some on the 10-hour, but it's rare this time of year to get a blackfin tuna on a 10-hour. The blackfin tuna we normally catch are mostly long-range fishing, deep water. Last week you mentioned getting a chance to meet with the governor. How did that go? It did not go. Monday last week I was supposed to meet with the governor. There was a invite-only press conference, and I wanted to talk to him about the Second Amendment that's coming up on the Florida ballot is the right to hunt and fish. So I wanted to talk to him about Amendment 2, the right to hunt and fish. And then I wanted to talk to him about some other fishery stuff. But unfortunately, he had issues with the plane, and that press conference got canceled, got rescheduled for Wednesday. I was unable to make it Wednesday, and he ended up showing up and talking pretty quickly, took some questions from press, and then had to rush out anyway. So even if I was able to make it Wednesday, I wouldn't have had a chance to talk to him anyway. So it did not work out. I didn't have a chance to meet or talk to the governor. Maybe next time, though. If the boat isn't full, can we get on last minute without a reservation? Yes, you can. I don't recommend that because we often, our trips are dependent on reservations, right? So if we don't have enough reservations, or if the boat gets sold out, you won't be able to come. Or if for some reason we have to cancel it and then you show up and all of a sudden you're showed up for a trip that got canceled. So we always recommend reservations, at least the day before. Is a good idea. How long is mahi season? There is no mahi season. We have the opportunity to keep them all year round. We see them most commonly. We see quantity most commonly in the summer months, especially like July, August, September. But we see them year round. You always want to keep your eye peeled. You might see that school of mahi swim up, but definitely we see them more in the summer. Question for what size and type of bait is best for the 12-hour night trip? Me personally, I would be using cut thread fins on a double snell rig for most of that 12-hour night trip. Maybe some shrimp, maybe 5 dozen shrimp and a dozen pinfish at most. But I would be fishing with the cut thread fins a majority of the trip. If it slowed down, maybe a lighter tackle and a live shrimp. If it was really, really hot and heavy, I might sneak down a pinfish, small to medium pinfish, for a big mangrove snapper. Do you target gags, amberjacks, and triggerfish on 39-hour trips the first 2 weeks of September? Yes, that would be the goal. Since amberjack are open September and October, gags are open the first 15 days of September. Triggerfish are open August through the end of the year. The first 2 weeks of September would be a good time to target those three things because they're all open at the same time, for sure. Trying to fish from land, anywhere from the Skyway to Pass the Grill to Coffee Pot, fish just aren't biting. Fish aren't biting because it is definitely just too warm, like you insinuated. If you're fishing from land, you need to start fishing at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. would be late. You want to start fishing before sunrise, fish through sunrise, and then be packing it up by like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. Definitely early morning, pre-sunrise, through sunrise, early part of the day. Or hit it like sunset and fish into the night. During the heat of the day from 10 a.m. till 6 p.m., 7 p.m., it's going to be just too hot. The fish are not going to be biting well unless you find these little pockets or these shaded areas. You might find some fish, maybe on an incoming tide. But if you're fishing from shore, I would hit it early morning. The snook are stacked up in the pass. There's a lot of trout around the bridge lights. There's tons of passes and bridges you could hit from shore and really be successful 2, 3 a.m. through sunrise, throwing a variety of different baits. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Coming down next week, which is better, half day, morning, or afternoon? It's 6 to 1, half a dozen of another. The morning trip is always going to be more popular and thus more people on it. Afternoon half-day trips are going to have less people on it generally, but we are definitely getting into that time of year now where it slows way down. Tomorrow we had 22 people in the morning and 4 in the afternoon, so we had to cancel tomorrow afternoon and push them over to the morning, so we're going to have like 25 people total on the half-day trip, so much slower this time of year. So really doesn't matter which one you choose. But there is a chance the afternoons are going to start getting canceled. And then I think once we get into like mid-August, we stop offering afternoon trips because they're just not that popular and the mornings are just not that full. the afternoons become kind of an overflow trip. All right, next question. Is it mandatory to have a venting tool on a longer trip? No, you can use a descending device if you so choose, but do need to have at least one or two of the other options. Either venting tool or descending device is a good idea. And I feel like that was a strong message that I'm over time, huh, Josh?
A little.
He just closed the questions. So, got your message, Josh. Let's do one more, and then we'll stop it out. We started a little late. Let's see here.
We
if you
still have 2 to give away. We still have a 5 hour.
Oh, we do. Oh, you're right. Let's do the 5-hour giveaway. Then we'll do one more question, and then the 39-hour. Good call, Josh. 5-hour half-day trip. One lucky winner, 2 guests. Let's see who won. Dennis Woodcocks from Holiday, Florida. Congratulations, Dennis. You've got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address to the phone number on the screen. If I go out in a 5-hour before the 39-hour trip, where can I keep bait alive? All you do is the boat pulls in from the 5-hour. If you go out on a Tuesday or a Sunday 39-hour trip, it's literally the same boat. So the 5-hour half-day trip goes out in the Florida, which is going to come in at 1 o'clock. You're going to get off the boat, and then you're going to get back on the boat at 2 o'clock for the 39-hour trip. So the bait stays on the boat, stays in your live well, and you don't have to do anything. If you come on a Friday, a little trickier. The boat comes in at 1 o'clock. You would have to get off the boat with all your half-day stuff, and we'd have to take the live bait off the boat, put it over on the other boat, and then you'd be good to go. So it is a little trickier on Fridays, but it still works. You will just transfer the bait to a different vessel. But it is common. A lot of people do it. Oh, let's see here. Do you guys do Cabera night trips? You do have the opportunity to catch a Cabera. We don't do Cabera snapper fishing trips just because for me to say, oh, we're going to go catch a Cabera snapper is very difficult. We have the opportunity to catch Caberas. We caught a Cabera snapper this past month, but we don't catch them frequently enough to say, hey, we're going to go out and catch a Cabera snapper today. But there is that opportunity for sure. Someone said, can you use electric reels on the trips? You can. I don't recommend it. But if you're like got a bad shoulder and you can't reel, you can use an electric reel. We just strongly discourage it unless it's absolutely necessary. And then if it is absolutely necessary, you want to make sure you bring one of those special batteries. Abyss batteries makes like a fanny pack that you can plug into your reel, so that way you can walk around. You don't have a big battery on deck tripping everybody and becoming a electricity potential disaster. So no big batteries on the deck, but you can bring those little small like wearable batteries kind of thing. Can you slow pitch jig on a 12-hour extreme trip? Yes, it's very common. We do a lot of jig fishing on our 12-hour extreme trip, 39-hour trip, 44-hour trip, all that good stuff for sure. All right, let's see. I think we got everything on this stuff. Well, we're pretty much out of time too, so I want to make sure we talked about our seasons. We've got super light loads coming up, like I mentioned. I think we covered everything we needed to cover. Don't forget about Tuesday night at Bartow Ford. Don't forget every last Friday of every month we've got our Final Friday events. So hopefully we'll see you for Final Friday coming up at the end of August. Excuse me. July's Final Friday already happened. So hopefully we'll see you at the end of August for Final Friday. Hopefully we'll see you every Sunday night for our live stream show. Hopefully you enjoyed tonight's show. Also, don't forget, Yes on 2. The Amendment 2 is going to be on the ballot November 5th. If you're a Florida voter, it is the right to hunt and fish. We're going to be the 24th state to pass it. We want to enshrine our ability to hunt and fish in the Florida Constitution. Josh is going to drop the link in the chat. It's also right here on my shirt too. Yes on 2, the number 2, Florida.com. So check it out. Yes on the number 2, Florida.com. Yes on 2, Florida.com. shoutout.com. Check it out. Take the pledge. Hopefully, they won't. Facebook is blocking that link. Isn't that cute? They're trying to shut us down. So you can't share that link in a Facebook chat, Josh.
Yeah.
It's messed up. They're shadow banning the link.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Facebook doesn't like hunting and fishing. Well, guess what? We're going to do it anyway. So, yes on 2. Tell your friends. Share the information. Again, yes on the number 2, Florida.com. Share it. Not in Facebook, but text it to your friends, family, all that good stuff. We also shared a link that you can share on Facebook, the Hubbard's Marina website. If you go to hubbardsmarina.com, hit info, and then the very first one is the right to fish and hunt. So Josh just shared that link in Facebook chat, and they haven't caught us yet. So there you go. There's the end around. Hopefully we'll see you guys soon out on the water. Don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Let's find out who won our 39-hour trip for one lucky winner. 39-hour trip for one lucky winner goes to, drum roll please, David Biddle. David Biddle, congratulations, my good friend. You are the lucky winner from Alabama. Now, if you are over on, can you bring up, oh, never mind, we'll do that in the after show. If you are a supporter, join us for the after show. Our after show is going to kick off at 8:55, supporters after show. We're going to be talking all about this upcoming weather. We're going to talk about what you want to hear and give you some behind-the-scenes info and more. So if you're in our supporters group, join us 8:55. If you're not in the supporters group, maybe think about joining. It's pretty legit. It's pretty fun. We'll see all of you guys for our supporters private after show at 8:55. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Thanks for being a part of our Hubbard's Marina family. And don't forget, yes on 2. Y'all have a good night.